Hello, it's Peter Wright and Kathleen Beauvais with another weekly wrap-up of the Yakking Show. We're going to do a deep dive into a health topic, and we're going to let you know what's been happening on the show. And this is the week ending 24th January 2025. Wow, isn't that amazing? Kathleen, January just about gone, and it seems like
I
Christmas was
know.
just yesterday. Anyway,
Absolutely.
first, how are you today, Kathleen?
I'm doing great, Peter. Thank you. And thank you also very much for tuning in to our show. We so appreciate having you. And Peter, today I would like to talk about vitamin D and the importance of vitamin D. I think we all have pretty much heard the how great vitamin D is, especially if you're out of the sun and you just need that. But today, more specifically, I want to chat about the powers of the immune system fighting against Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Have you ever heard of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, Peter?
I have indeed, yes. I know of someone who says that they have it and um, blames her erratic, and it's not one of the ladies I'm involved with, don't get me wrong, and that sounds bad too. But
Yeah.
oh, sorry. Uh, some of them behave badly because of me, but no, this is an acquaintance who has somewhat erratic behavior and claims that it's because of this Hashimoto's problem.
Is
So
that
I
right?
have,
Well,
mm,
yeah. Well,
I've heard of it.
for those of you who don't know what Hashimoto's disease, it's also known as Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It's an autoimmune disorder where your immune system attacks your thyroid gland, leading to decreased hormone production and then thus causing hypothyroidism. So when that happens,
Mhm.
your body struggles to regulate metabolism, causing a variety of symptoms, including persistent fatigue, unexplained weight gain, sensitivity to cold, and it can even bring on depression. However, recent evidence published in the Journal of Clinical Pharmacy and Therapeutics says that vitamin D deficiency is linked to the development of Hashimoto's thyroiditis and reduced thyroid function. I had not heard of that before. So, along with other factors that cause an autoimmune attack in the thyroid gland, the immune system's response is to create chronic inflammation and gradual destruction of the thyroid tissue, ultimately leading to hypothyroidism. So the study showed that sufficient vitamin D intake played a pivotal role in supporting immune balance and significantly improved Hashimoto's disease symptoms. So patients who took vitamin D for more than 12 weeks experienced more significant improvements in their thyroid function. So, this is also very important, though. Vitamin D has a synergistic effect with vitamin K2. So, if you're taking vitamin D, very important to also supplement with vitamin K2 because K2 is highly beneficial as it ensures calcium is not deposited into your arteries, but rather is transported to your bones and teeth where it belongs, reducing your risk of atherosclerosis and kidney disease and supporting your hormonal health. So I thought that was kind of interesting today, Peter.
Yeah, very interesting. And the person that I referred to earlier on, somewhat facetiously, for which I apologize, she has several of those symptoms. The one is chronic fatigue. That was the worst one. She's a woman, early 60s now, I guess. She's had this for a long time. And
Mhm.
she says some days she can hardly function. She can hardly move. She is so fatigued some days.
Okay.
Also, that brings on depression.
Mhm.
And she finds it at its worst. And certain foods seem to make it worse. She
Mhm.
gets terribly upset stomach with it as well. So
Oh, wow.
three of the symptoms that you mentioned. And just
Mhm.
picking up on the K2,
Yeah.
we interviewed somebody recently, and his episode will be published in early March. He's an expert in functional medicine, and he's done a huge study into women who've been diagnosed with osteoporosis and prescribed calcium and don't take K2. And he says there's research that indicates that just taking calcium supplements without K2 can increase your risk of heart attack significantly. So his warning to people who are taking a calcium supplement is make sure you do take the K2, as you've just explained. So I found that interesting as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Important. And of course, at this time of year, for us in the Northern Hemisphere, and today is our coldest day of the year at minus 22 Celsius, we're not getting enough vitamin D from the sun. So we really got to be careful and take our supplements, right?
Right, right. And well, you know what? That the article went on to say though, the effects of getting your vitamin D from the sun is far more therapeutic than supplementing it with vitamin D.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just goes to show you nature has the answers, doesn't it? So
Oh, absolutely. It does. Yeah, it does.
mhm.
So what's your recommended health product this week, Kathleen? You got
Well,
something lined up, I know.
I do, Peter, I do. And I just want to give it a little plug for Dr. Morris's kidney tea. It's a wonderful
Hmm.
tea, actually, and it's a loose tea. And I know that you've had it before, but it's like this. It actually smells lovely
Hmm.
and it tastes wonderful. It's not harsh or anything like that. It's very pleasant tasting. But this tea is a companion to all of the kidney and bladder formulas in his tinctures, because it assists the kidneys in their natural ability to clean, strengthen, and support tissue throughout the urinary tract. So drinking this herbal diuretic naturally stimulates kidney function without causing mineral depletion. So, which is important because a lot of diuretics out there will deplete you of your minerals. This will not. So it's a wonderful detoxification for the kidneys, and I highly recommend it. So, Dr.
Yeah,
Morse, we will put a link to this product in below this video, and if you plug in Yakking Show in the coupon code, you will get a discount on all of his products.
absolutely. Good. Thanks, Kathleen. Something I picked up on tea very recently.
Mhm.
I follow a Dr. Kirsty, can't think of her last name, on Twitter, and she puts out lots of interesting stuff. And she's found research that shows that tea bags are inherently unhealthy because they're not plain paper, right? They're a sort of plastic
Bleach.
paper blend. No, it's a plastic. She says there's research produced evidence that our bodies can absorb microplastics from tea bags, right?
But the tea
Which
bags are not made of plastic, though,
it's
Peter.
plasticized paper, she says. It's got a
Plasticized paper. Isn't
it's
that
got an
interesting?
element it's got an element of plastic in it, which keeps it together in boiling water. Because if you put straight paper in boiling water,
Oh,
it's going
that's
to
true.
dissolve, right?
Of course. Of
And
course.
we don't think about that.
No.
But she says there is evidence to show we can absorb microplastic particles from tea bags. So that's another reason to go for loose tea and then prepare it in china or stainless steel or glass teapots, not aluminium or aluminum, as we say here,
Mhm.
because the dangers of that as well. So that was an interesting one.
Thanks for that tip. Wow.
Yeah, it's
I hadn't
quite
heard that.
amazing that the more we research and the more we read about holistic health, the more of these things we pick up. And it just proves to me something I've always talked about, that people who live close to nature in rural areas, as I was used to in Africa, tend to avoid a lot of these problems of toxins and conditions of affluence, right? Diabetes, heart attack, all these things. Sure, they're subject to other health issues, I know, but they avoid the ones that are killing Westerners in our society. Anyway, enough of that. So Kathleen, sorry, any more on
No,
health, or
that's good. Go ahead off
shall
to you,
I
Peter.
get on to what happened on the Yakking show? So, what happened on the Yakking show this week? Well, as you know, we are now only publishing a guest interview every second week. So, on Tuesday, we published an episode with Jenny Powers, and Jenny is a very interesting person. She has looked into the origins of being. And as I've just commented on people in rural areas, she's made a huge study of some of the few remaining hunter-gatherer societies. One is the San people in southern Africa, and another one is another group in the middle of Africa, Equatorial Africa, who live almost exactly the same as their ancestors thousands of years ago, and they don't suffer from diseases or conditions of modernity like heart attack, stroke, diabetes, and autoimmune diseases. And she explains this is, but her biggest concept that she's discovered is that our biological evolution has not kept pace with our societal and technological evolution. So we're using bodies that were designed for hunter-gatherer life 2,000, 10,000 years ago to try and cope with the stresses of modern diets, fast foods, processed foods, and all the benefits and harm that technology does for us. So it's a really interesting episode, and I'd encourage you to listen or watch that particular episode. So who have we got coming up? Well, next in 2 weeks' time, we will have Dr. Keith Ellis, who has made a huge study into the effects of long COVID and or any post-viral symptoms. Some people seem to get over virus infections very quickly, but there's a significant minority where the symptoms linger for weeks or months, and some never recover. So he explains in the episode why this should be, and he comes up with some natural health remedies that can help alleviate those symptoms. So that's in 2 weeks' time. And 2 weeks after that will be Dee Manny, who is a pharmacist and who is a specialist in CBD. And that's going into an area I've always been very nervous about, the benefits of CBD. I've always been very averse to mind-altering drugs, as Kathleen will know from my rude comments about her trips to South America. But with my conservative upbringing, despite being born in the hippie generation, I've always been totally against any form of drugs. So it'll be interesting to hear what Dee Manny has to say about CBD. So that's who's coming up on the Yakking Show over the next couple of weeks. Let's talk about our author of the week. Our featured author this week is our guest from Tuesday, Jenny Powers, with her book On the Origin of Being. And it's a really good book going into everything that she talks about and more on the show. I found it absolutely fascinating. And although it's a lot of technical stuff, I got through that. I couldn't put it down in about 3 days of evening reading. So I really enjoyed that. That's our author of the week. And the last one for me is we have our Facebook community group, and we're encouraging you to join there so you can make direct contact with our guests, and our guests can make direct contact with our audience. You can ask them questions. And if you don't want to miss out on future guests, hop onto our website, theyakkingshow.com, and sign up for our weekly newsletter. We just send you one email a week, tell you who's on this week, who's coming next week, and Kathleen's health tips. Thank you for watching, and back to Kathleen.
Yes, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next week, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.